Hey guys, it's Avenger. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're taking a look at IniBuilds' brand new aircraft. Not this trailer. This. The Messerschmitt Bf 108 Taifun. Now, this has just come out and this is a brand new release. It's available on Simmarket currently. And it uses their installer. Some people like that, some people don't. But this is €20 or thereabouts. And if it's anything like their previous releases, like their P40, we could be in for a really good aircraft. So let's take a look at her today and see how she works. So what is the Taifun? Well, it's Taifun in English. It's a single-engine sport and touring aircraft developed by, forgive me here, Bayerische Flugwerk in the 1930s. It was an all-metal construction, originally designated as the M37. And I'm sick of looking at this already. Let's go outside. Oh dear. Turns out I'm going to have to turn my head tracking on here for anything to behave itself today. There we go. Because apparently it's too bright outside for me to not have it turned on. So, this is originally the M37. It was designed as a 4-seat sport and recreation aircraft for competition in the 4th Challenge International de Tourisme in 1934. Now, it first flew in 1934, powered by a 247 horsepower Herth engine with an 8-litre displacement, an air-cooled inverted V8 engine, which drove a 3-blade propeller. This obviously has a 2-blade on it, as you can see. Now, during the Second World War, production was transferred to occupied France, and they continued their production after the Second World War as the Nord 1000 Penguin. Now, this thing has a maximum speed of about 165 knots, cruises 140, lands at about 47 knots, range of about 540 nautical miles. It can get up to roughly 20,000 feet. Now, IniBuilds' version here comes with a pile of liveries, including Allied and Axis liveries, and civilian, more importantly. It uses the latest computational fluid dynamics systems for the propeller and flight model. We have an authentically modelled engine with true life performance, fully modelled fuel system using their new fuel mechanics, leading edge slats, which you'll see on the wing here. In fact, they're down there. The wings do fold, by the way. This is a feature of the aircraft. In fact, you know what? We'll just pop inside real quick whilst we're talking about features. And we will quickly check the tablet here, because this is where we have a lot of our controls. So we can choose what cover we want on it. We can choose our gauge set. We'll look at this in more detail in a moment. But we'll quickly go to maintenance here. We'll fold the wings out. Turn the rain cover off. Open our stowage. And, whilst we're here, we'll open the doors. So, that's one. And we'll leave this one closed so we can take a look at it, shall we? Okay, so this is the Taifun in slightly better view. There you go, those leading edge slats on the wing. Beautifully modelled. Gorgeously put together, actually. Loads of fun little features to this aircraft and beautiful detailing. I mean, even in there. Well, we can get in with the V8 engine. It's all inside there. Obviously with quite a thin cowling in places. You can see a lot of engine, so it's good to be able to have that visibility rather than just being blanked out. Most, if not all, of these aircraft represent ones that are being flown today, or that exist today, rather than being historic examples, and I'm sure we'll see liveries for that. We have stowage there. We have visibility for our stock pilots. That's interesting. We have the flickering there. Now, there is a sim artifact issue where if you have glass next to each other, I think it's just too close, and when you look through both planes of glass, you get that flickering in the window there. I know that's just a sim bug itself. That's not something specific to this aircraft. It's probably just because of how the windows fold. So that is what it is. Now, what else does this aircraft come with? Now, of course, we have full wise sound set, 4K liveries, which you've seen. The rain covers, we have the doors, windows, wings. You can use English and German cockpit labels and metric and imperial gauges. So if you don't know one system, you can use one you're familiar with. Now, we have the EFB in there, which we'll look at in more detail once we're inside the cockpit. In fact, let's go inside that cockpit now, shall we? Okay. Put my controller down here. There we go. Let's take a look here at the EFB. You know, I'm going to turn off my head tracking for a moment, just so we can use this properly and have a look around without it being wobbly. It's very bright in my office today, so I'm having difficulty keeping that stable. Sometimes with really bright conditions it can get weird. We have component status here. We can repair these and we can actually perform maintenance. We can use all our various functions here. If you've got the doors open, you can't reach them, you can close them with this, and it does the two-stage latching. And we've got the curtains up there. I don't know if I can actually control these from here, but I do know that you can either fold them in the tablet and have them up there, which will leave them on, or you can disable them entirely. So we go down back to our menu. We've got map functionality here, which is useful if you want that. We have timers, we have an ICO searching for weather meters. In settings, we can choose our rain cover. We can go to Imperial, gauge set, we can turn off maintenance subsistence, and we can turn off the curtains entirely. So they're gone. Although I'll leave those on there. Now, if we go to the, obviously, Imperial, we have English notifications, and we have English measurements here on all of our instruments. So this is our RPM, manifold pressure, VSI, we have altitude, we have airspeed. So ballparks, these are the typical numbers. 100 there is going to be 150 in kilometers an hour, roughly. So just in case you're comparing, the actual speeds all function the same, but these are what you're looking for. So we can turn off the EFB entirely if you don't want that look, with the switch there on the glove box, and you can turn it back on again. Obviously, concessions to modernity, we have got a transponder, and we have got a radio here, so you have the full functionality for VATSIM. This is your prop, yes, and if you move your prop lever, if you have one, you'll see it moves pretty quickly as you wind it. So our throttle's there on the side wall of the cockpit, and we have here, I believe these are connected to the radio, but they don't function. Currently, that's our pitch trim. We have reserve fuel tank there. The leather on the seats is stunning. I will give them that. That is really gorgeously made. In fact, the entire interior of this aircraft is beautifully done. If we want to open the windows, we can. Just click on the little knob there. You'll notice a distinct difference in sound when those are open. Here's our lights and our generators, etc. Can't move the nozzles, not the end of the world. Primer, we have starter, which is a huge button for a starter, to be fair. But let's give her a kick and let's see how she behaves, and we'll take her for a run. So, system's turning on. There's our mags on. Let's make sure our fuel is set, our props set, throttle is cracked. Fuel cock here. So our master cutoff for our ignition, but we don't need that because we're going to hit the starter. Give it a prime. Oh, lovely blue smoke there. It's quite nice, actually. And the sounds are gorgeous. Now, you might recognise this aircraft. It's been in a lot of movies. There's a reason why I'm flying the World War II kind of German version here, is because these featured in a ton of movies post-war. Mostly Nords, the Nord 1000 Penguins, but they often replaced, if you could, the silhouette here looks familiar, right? Yeah? Does it look familiar? Yeah, they stood in for a lot of BF-109s. When they weren't using Spanish BF-109s or their derivatives, this aircraft was used in a lot of movies. So we've got sound deadening there with the windows open and closed. Quite nicely achieved. And let's get my head tracking back on again, and we'll go for a little run with this girl here and see how she handles. So that's switched on there. If this goes wrong, I'll have to turn it off. I do apologise ahead of time. But I am just back from a family holiday to Ireland. And I'm trying to get myself back in the groove of things, get this out for you guys so you can see it. We're going to turn the tablet off, actually, for now. We don't need this here. Let's get our parking brake disengaged. And if we look down here, these are our flaps, so I'll give it a notch for our takeoff. This is our full extension. We're not going to need all of that. The slats are automatic with the airflow, if they are the same type as they should have been the real one. Give it one notch there. In fact, we've got so much runway, we don't even need the flaps. There we go. Get a bit moving on the grass. Needs a bit more throttle than you might imagine. Great visibility when taxiing. Obviously over the nose a little bit more difficult, but you've got so much to both sides that she's actually pretty comfortable to taxi. In case you're curious, we're here at one of the enhanced airports from the sim update for Germany in general and Europe. This is Füssen Glider Airfield in Füssen, in the south of Germany. Echo Delta Golf Delta, if you want to go here. Let's get it taxied out to the end of the runway. We'll get it turned around. This is an aircraft that I think people will like if they like historic models, but a lot more approachable than, say, a warbird or a fighter. You get that vibe of a warbird because it's very similar to the 109. But it is also an aircraft that has a civilian purpose. It was a civilian aircraft. It was used as observation, liaison, and personal transport, of course, during warfare service. But there is one thing I want to do here. There we go. We'll set that back to metric. If I'm going to fly a historic aircraft, I'll fly it properly. Now, obviously, it's fast. It could do 140, 145 knots cruising, which is great. It's a complex aircraft, so you've got the retractable undercarriage, which is pretty advanced for its time in 1934 as a civilian touring aircraft. Now, there is talk, and not just talk, but historical precedent, that its development was basically part of a pre-war use of civilian infrastructure, both airliners and GA aircraft, to design and build engines and aircraft for later use in military equipment. So yeah, it definitely has that. It is the precursor to the 109. Right, we'll go straightened up here on the grass. Let's get ourselves advancing the throttle here. We'll give her a kick. Great engine sounds here. I really like this. She's very stable in terms of being a tail dragger. She's not pulling too hard to one side or the other. Tail's up there. Speed's up. We'll pull her away from the runway here. Nice. Noisy girl outside, but there's the gear. Honestly, great engine sounds. I love how she sounds both inside and out. So we have 247 horsepower, which is decent for an aircraft this size. She's a little on the heavier side of things, but that's not awful. IniBuilds did a great job with all the functions and features, state-saving, maintenance. It adds to an aircraft's behavior and feeling of actually flying the aircraft in the sim. Those features aren't extremely heavy, but given that we didn't have before, I should say, in our FSX and P3D days, a ton of aircraft that were historic and also had, you know, state saving and performance and maintenance. Having more is fantastic. The fact it's becoming more of a standard thing is great. I've always liked the 108 because it's a very unique aircraft, but it also has a lot of historical precedent, and they were seen all around Europe, especially post-war. They became quite a popular GA tourer when Nord, the French company, built them. Really pleasant aircraft to fly. It's not an F-109, so you're not going to be diving around like a fighter jet or a fighter plane in this aircraft, but she's definitely pleasant to fly. More than pleasant. Absolutely pleasant. I really like this aircraft. Pull back up prop a little bit there. Where's our field? Oh, there it is over there. So we'll fly downwind here, we'll set it for a landing, and we'll bring her in, so I'll get my throttle back there. We're looking for flaps and wheels under 185, so you see the little white marker there on our airspeed. About there. There's our flap and gear speeds right there. And we're looking for about 100 for our final approach and landing. Well, 120 for final approach, 100 for landing. Okay, there's the field. Let's try the window in the air. Nice amount of wind noise too, not just engine noise increase, but wind noise. It really has that period drone going on very nicely, actually. I rather like that. Texturing is lovely. The panel really is nice. I'm looking forward to seeing what people do in terms of repaints for this aircraft. And we have an emergency canopy release. What does this do? Won't let me do it in the air. Okay. So I assume in real life this would allow these to blow away and you can parachute out. Which would be a useful feature to have. Okay, there's our field. So we'll set up for our turnaround here. Throttle back. Still got a lot of airspeed, but it's one of those aircraft that's very streamlined. So that's not unexpected. There we go. And down comes the gear. It's hydraulic, of course, so it will come down largely with some effective gravity and lock in place. Listen to the wind note change there when the gear went down. Give it a notch of flaps. In fact, we'll give it 2 notches of flaps there. Where's the airfield? There it is. Coming over the gorgeous lake here. I felt Germany was the right place to fly this aircraft for its test. It felt only right. I like this. This is an aircraft I think I would fly quite happily. In terms of GA Tourers, I prefer something like this over the average Cessna or Piper. It's something unique and different. Okay, we're a little bit high up here, so let's see if we can kill some of this with a bit of a side slip. There's our field. Cross the controls nicely. Oh, let's watch our speed here. We may need to circle around and bring her down, which is absolutely fine by me. In fact, we're going to have to. We are quite high up here. Although we're losing altitude very quickly, we're good. This might be fine. I do like to see how an aircraft behaves when it's in, non-conventional flight, like a side slip, because it really gives you a different interpretation of how it's going to behave. Right now we have the rudder fully over, and our controls are crossed. Power lines ahead, we'll keep our eye out for that. Still crossed controls. Of course, crabbing or slipping does let you see the approach a lot better in a tail dragger. Not that we have a particularly long or high nose in this aircraft, but it's enough that we notice it. Okay, uncross the controls here. Let the nose drift down. We're right a little too slow here, so... And the ground's rising up to meters, so we'll just give it a bit more power. There we go. She's incredibly placid. There we go. Gear up. Or flaps up. No, not gear. We don't want to pull our gear up. That would be bad. Gentle as though anything. Absolutely lovely aircraft to land. Very well behaved in all stages of flight. Predictable. Again, takeoff, tail draggers in the sim can be hit or miss. They've gotten a lot better recently as people understand how to make them, but they used to be awful. This has no weird tendencies. She's not super powerful at 247 horsepower, but it's certainly enough to make life interesting, and she does pretty well. And for €20, you're getting a fantastic package of the, obviously, maintenance features, persistence, various functionalities like tablets, the covers, folding wings, got all the usual doors and bells and whistles. This is a lovely, lovely aircraft. Turn off my head tracking there. Okay, well, parking brake on. Ignition cut off and fuel cut off there. And we are stopped. I rather like this little aircraft. She's beautifully made and for a really reasonable price. Ton of fun to fly. Highly recommend it. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.